We share. Oh, take a ride with me.
My name is Rosemary Lawrence. I am a producer-presenter with Adventist World Radio, and I also work with Hope 89.1 FM, a campus radio in Babcock University. I hail from Abia State, and I am blessed with amazing 2 girls and a wonderful and amazing husband too. My journey started in the year 2020. So many people had vision for the year 2020. And I also had that vision. God blessed me with a beautiful girl, 8th of January 2020. So it was a beautiful time to appreciate God. But 2-3 months after her birth, she was a big baby, 4.6, and it was a vaginal birth. After that, I started having so many complications. And visiting the hospital, they'll tell you hormonal imbalance, this and that. Though they didn't give me drugs, because after carrying out some tests and all that, they don't see anything in my body. Even when I complain, I'm having some pain back and forth, nothing. Fast forward to 2021, around March, I had this, severe pain, my back, and then my lower abdomen, just as if a woman is in labor. And the labor will give you the time of 5 minutes, 20, then that's hot labor. So that hot one, I was having it and I was not even pregnant. So I went to the hospital again, they checked and then said, it's still hormonal imbalance. So at this point, I just give everything to God, because at that time I'll have my menstruation maybe in March, and then it comes again in June. And when it will come, the pain, everything will be so unbearable. I was just praying to God, believing that, okay, one day this imbalance thing will balance. Now fast forward to the year 2022. Around March, I woke up that very fateful day that later turned unfaithful. And I woke up with the half side of my left body, from the hair, just divide my body into 2, just the way my hand is moving, from my hair down to my toe. I woke up and that part was just, paralyzed. Like I couldn't move, I couldn't feel anything on that part. It was funny, like I had devotion with my family, and just in split seconds, the body changed again. Okay, we prayed to God and then tried some natural things we know that one can do. And let me also mention that I have a beautiful friend and a mother in person of Dr. Miriam Oluyinka Tolagbe. She's a medical doctor. So we called her and she said, okay, but she loves, dealing with people when it comes to natural things, the herbs, the food, things like that. So we called her and then she said we should try some things, which we did, trusting God. The supposed, the paralysis everything came back to normal. That was early March in 2022. Now to the year, around early April, same year, 2022. I woke up with a hard rock. The one I described that breast, it was hard and painful. And this is Rosemary. I'm a mother of 2 adorable girls. And I've breastfed, I've breastfed my girls, and I do breastfeed for 2 years. For my first child was 2 years, and the second one was 2 years. And just on a lighter mode, even if I'm breastfeeding 2 years, having in mind that God blessed me with Brother Lawrence, yes, Olumi, so, he's also doing his own sucking by the side. So the breast has been active ever since I got married in 2016. That's what I'm trying to say. Then early April, I woke up with that very hard, rocky, painful breast. I have 2 neighbors. I'm blessed with them. They are nurses. So I called on them to, come help me check, because I've done mine. My husband has done his. He said he can't feel anything. I said, you study accounting. Mine is communication. Let me call, someone who is in the medical line. And then they came and checked and they said nothing was there. But this thing was painful. So I got dressed. I managed to, take a bath, and then I got dressed, got to work, but it was unbearable. I went back home. So what they concluded was maybe it's still the same hormonal thing. It's trying to come from that angle. All well and good. So after 3 days, my monthly cycle came out. So when it came out, I just had in mind that, okay, really, it's the hormonal thing, but that experience was very bad. So at the end of the 5th day, after the cycle, at the end of it, I had this hardening that I felt. Because when the menstruation, the blood was flowing, I noticed that that pain was relieving. So by the end of the 5th day, there was this hardening that didn't go away. So I called my neighbors, and then they came and said, okay, now it's time for us to go back to the hospital. So I went back and I met that very day. I met a gynae. The gynecologist checked me, and he said, okay, I should go run some tests and some scans, which I did. At the end of it, the results were out, and just right there, it was, when you're having cancer, okay, maybe you've noticed a lump initially or something, but at this point, I noticed nothing. So all I just, what the scan result, was just like, enlarged, in my terms, I'm not a medical doctor or practitioner, but something like enlarged mass, tumor, small one, like, I just read that English, but to wrap it up, I couldn't really wrap around my head what was going on. So I quickly went to the hospital to, submit that result. And immediately they gave me some medication, some drugs I should start taking. But let me also say right now that I'm a vegetarian proud to this time. And then I believe in nature, like I believe in the blessings God has given us in fruits, veggies. So when things happen around me, I don't just rush to the hospital. Yes, I go to the hospital, to be sure. Is this malaria? Is this typhoid? Is whatever it is? That's what I go to the hospital to be sure. So when I'm sure of, what I'm going through, then I will come back home and then do, try the natural things I know that, okay, 1 can add 1 plus 1. Maybe if it's time to need rest, I rest. If it's time to drink water, I take that. If it's time to do my natural penicillin to boost my immunity, I do all of that. With my children, that's what my family practice. So I quickly called on my doctor. That's why I introduced her. Dr. Atolagba, I called on her. I said, this, and I decided to snap that result, the scan result. I forwarded it to her, and then she said, okay, I need to see you. So we met. And then, as mother to child conversation, she told me, you really need to take it calm. You need to be alive. The questions were, do you want to be alive for your children? I said, yes, definitely. No mother will want to die at this age when I have, 6 and 3-year-old child. No. So she said to me, we need to deal with this. So you need to abstain from anything that has to do with dairy, like, milk. You need to abstain from oil, salt, I'm like, okay. In as much as I don't even take a lot, I mentioned I'm a vegetarian, but I said to myself, okay, I would abstain from all of this, but what are we dealing with? Because, it's a different thing for you to know what you're passing through and you don't even have an idea. I said, what exactly is this? Because I know for cancer, like I mentioned, there should be a lump or something before that. And then she said, this is cancer and we're treating it as it is. And I'm like, at that point, I just sat down. I looked up. When you hear such a shocking news, for me, when I looked up, I expected tears to flow down so that I'll cry and then, wail another. But I didn't even find any tears. I just said to myself, okay, I'm prepared to do this and I will do it. So she told me the things I needed to eat. I told you I'm a vegetarian and I needed to become, a vegan rather. I needed to become a vegan so that I can do the fruits, vegetables, my leg in hot water. It was a lot of process anyway. And it's something that you will do when you are determined. It's not just something you can, because trying to eat vegetables, let me share some of my meal with you. In the morning, I'm excited, I'm awake. So I go to my garden, I pick water leaf, I pick this ewedu in Yoruba. I may not know what it is called in the botanical name. Yes, I pick ewedu and then maybe bitter leaf. I get all of that together and then I sit down, wash it clean, slice it. Then I have my spoon or my fork and then I'm chewing. I'm smiling at this point, but at that point I wasn't smiling because it's not a cooked food, number one. I'm eating it raw, raw. And mind you, like I mentioned, I was always getting things from my garden. That's to tell you that I was not buying things from the market. Okay, so I was advised not to eat any vegetable that is chemicalized, that went through the process of fertilizer. So I made sure that the things I was eating was from my garden, okay? So, and there were some other herbs she would say I should take, things like dandelion, things like, I may not even have all their names, but when I see them, I know them. So these are the things I would use very early in the morning. I would have to take activated charcoal. It helps to cleanse the internal system. So I'll take that one first thing in the morning after my prayer. And another beautiful thing about my journey with breast cancer was that when I was with her that day and she was looking at the results, she told me that in as much as you do all these natural things, in as much as you attempt all of these just to be well and to be made whole, the number one thing is for you to, know God and have a relationship with Him. You need to have a good relationship with God, that you're thinking God, you're eating God, you're drinking God, everything about you reminds you of God. And then she also advised me that at every point in time, I need to remind God of His promises in His Word. That is the truth. So when I wake up and then I'm reading the Bible and I say to God, oh, in Psalm 103, you promised my body is this. In Corinthians, you promised. In Romans, when I tell God, when I read those words and I tell God that, I'm sure and certain that my body being your temple, you cannot even live in this rotten breast that is looking this way. Because it really got bad that, initially the hospital didn't say cancer. That's the truth. They were just treating around, trying to find, but as I was doing my natural things, the thing was getting worse, as the honest truth, and fear was even getting into me at some point. But around June, I was referred from the gynae, to the surgeon, because they saw that, okay, this is no more their case. This is not what they can handle, because they've seen how bad the breast was looking, this left breast, looking so nice and, pumping to the next one now. But at that point, it was swollen. It was big, very big. So they referred me to the surgeons, and when I met the surgeons, you would know what they would say, the cutting. They advised that they had to book me for a day to come, and I said, no, I am not cutting. And the doctor was saying, you're a bit stubborn, my lady. We've had people like you who would say they won't cut their breast, who doesn't want to go through chemo and things like that, and all of that. And I said, I am not cutting. I'm not even having anything, surgery on anything. And to thank God that He was with me, all the hardening on the outer space, I had some things I needed to do on that outer space to, will I use the word dissolve that tumor and on the outer space, not even the cells growing inside. Okay, I had things I was doing on that part. It wasn't just a journey of, cross your legs, cross your hands, look pretty and think it would disappear. No. And when you talk about cancer, any kind of cancer, for mine, it was breast, and let me focus on it. Things like milk, these are things that help in spreading the cancer. So you're in the hospital, or you're going through chemotherapy, or you're having any surgery or anything, and you're still drinking, milk, those dairy things, you're still taking them, and then you feel, or the chocolate, and you feel that, okay, this is what is good for me. Those food or beverages are not good for your body system at all, because these are the things that help in spreading cancer the more. When you take things like oil that are not healthy, granite oil, palm oil and all that. Why did I mention palm oil is because the palm oil, if you have the kernel itself and then you do the processing yourself and you cook directly, the one they call banga, it's more healthy than the palm oil has gone through a lot of process, cooking and boiling and all the vitamins and everything in it. Everything is all dead. And now you buy from the market, you are now cooking again. Think about it. You are eating nothing but just the surface of fat in your system. So those unhealthy oils were not the right things for me to eat at that point, and she explained to me the things about, even if I was a vegetarian, she told me I don't need to do honey. I don't need to do molasses or dates. These are natural sweeteners, but I needed to abstain because anything that has to do with any sweetener, in short, they are the things that help cancer to grow and spread in our body. So what I was doing in the opposite was to starve the cells. Okay, so I was taking these vegetables that were bitter. Okay, I take charcoal in the morning, try another maybe dandelion, maybe half glass or something of that nature in the morning too, before I have other routines and all that, before I take my vegetable. And when I'm done with the vegetable, yes, I eat fruit, you may want to ask, but fine, mine was detected on time. Mine was detected on time. For those whose cancers maybe like stage 3 or 4, I would also say that yes, there is a way out for you. That's the honest truth. But you really need to intensify in prayer and the natural remedy kind of lifestyle. It really helped me to know God the more, to draw closer. In as much as I had a relationship with God, it became a closer relationship. You know, when you're faced with death, you really don't want to die. We sometimes will say, oh, when these things happen, we don't want. I was faced with death and I really didn't want to die at that point in time. So I was eating the things that would starve the cancer. And then most of the times when I go to work, yes, I was going to work, but not like I was so efficient or effective, but I was still doing the best. I would give myself an 85% without 100. Yes, with my health, I knew that I was doing that. I was going to work every day. I didn't take like an extra off, and I was pushing it, and God was helping me because the things I was eating was helping to, rejuvenate my blood and my system, and I was getting better. So at every point in time, prayer was there for me. Praises. I could remember a day I went to make my hair I'm in a hairdresser's salon, and she just started the hair. Maybe 10-20 minutes into it, and the pain came. You know that pain when you are having it at, that your heart, the very back of it, is like your life is going now, is drawing you from your neck down to that left part of me. It was just something sucking me up, and I felt like, what exactly am I going to do? I started praising God in tears. Yes, the hairdresser she said to herself, maybe it's just a moment I wanted to praise God or something. It wasn't her business. Hers is to make hair. Yes, she concentrated, and I was in pain, groaning in pain. I could remember times and times when I had this headache. I would say was a banging headache. Like it was just that half of me, that left part. It was so bad that day that I felt that I was going to die. It was a Saturday, and I was on afternoon duty. I had to put a call through Dr. Tolagba. I said, this headache, I don't think I can even survive it in the next 5 minutes, the way I'm feeling. She said, you will survive it. Stop saying negative things to yourself. Be positive minded, and always share, just take God's promises into your heart and don't say anything. And then she said I should try ginger. There is power in the natural things God created, honestly. She said I should try ginger. I quickly put a call through my husband because I know he was coming to pick me when I closed from work around 9 p.m. So I put a call through him. I said, Olumi, please, I need you now. It was like 6:37. I said, I need you now. Just all the ginger in the house, pack, bring them to the studio. So my husband quickly came down with the girls to the studio. I started eating ginger as if it was ice cream. I ate ginger and I was just stressed. He said, you keep eating that ginger until you get that relief you need. So when I ate ginger that day, and at a point, I felt that relief. The headache disappeared, honestly. And as I was eating the ginger, I was affirming God's promises. I was praying and also praising God in pain, and that pain disappeared. I also want to share that some of the things I used as a painkiller, I was using this soursop, the leaf, and I also used they say papaya, pawpaw leaf, yes, the dry one. I was using it, then I'll boil it and drink it as water. It was really helping me, to relieve pain whenever I was going through pain back and forth. Cancer is nobody's mate. Whatever it is you're going through, prostate, breast, but the one I had as a female is breast cancer. And I really want to give God Almighty the glory because towards the tail end of June, I had a pause. Will I call it like a pause? Or there was an opening around my breast. And it was an evening, I just got home from work. My children, they've slept. My husband was so tired, he had also slept. So it was just me trying to do one or two things before I sleep that night. And where I was seated, I noticed that my body was wet. And I said, oh, yes, my husband came back not feeling too well. And I just did some immune booster for him, something natural to boost his immunity. And I gave him that to drink. Did I pour it on my body? Because how wet my body was, I was wondering what happened to me. And I noticed that, no, I didn't, just trying to recall what happened. So the top I was wearing, like a sleeping top, I used that sleeping top and I tried to clean my body and I folded it under my breast because the breast always needed something to pad it up. It was heavy and it was big. And, so I just padded that thing up and I held my hand like this and I was I think I was writing something or thereabouts, doing something. So at the end, maybe like 2-3 minutes, even the hand I used in supporting the clothes, I noticed that there was still this wetness, something dripping down. So I said to myself, let me even check what is wrong with my body. And the moment I pulled up the top, oh, my dear brothers and sisters, it was my breast. You know how when a woman is breastfeeding and then at that point, maybe the first 2 weeks, you have your boobs filled with milk and it's just rushing or gushing out. That was the way this pause was, as if there was a tap. It was just one phase from, the nipple holes and all that. It was just one phase and it was rushing and gushing like a tap water. And I looked at it, I'm like, okay. There was no light, so I quickly picked my phone, picked that of my husband, and I had to use his phone as touch, and I was recording with mine because I needed to have evidence. Because I didn't even share my journey with so many people. She said, trust God, let's do this. And I trusted God, okay? So when people hear, they're like, Haba, no. But I see you at work, I do this, and I'm like, you didn't know what I was going through. Yes, for those who would notice, some would say, maybe I thought she was pregnant. Some women, when they are pregnant, there's a breast that hand, some of their boobs and things. Some of my colleagues said, okay, maybe I thought you were pregnant. Some other people said, I just felt maybe you're trying to watch your weight because I think I'm fat now. I'm really fat now. That's the honest truth. Because I was thin. When I mean thin, I was thin. And if you notice most at times now, like as I'm seated and I have a belt, most of the dresses I wear, if I remove this belt, you see how big this dress is on me. So I always use belts to accommodate most of my gowns. Yes, I've not had time to go to to a tailor, a seamstress to help me trim everything down and all that. So I just use a belt, not because I don't want to grow fat. Thank you to the sickness. Yes, it brought me down a lot. If you know me before now, you understand what I'm saying. But in as much, I don't want to. So I use a belt to just, give myself that shape and that I need. So God has been faithful and he will continue to be faithful in my life. The journey wasn't easy. Having to deal with this, one thing I believe is our Nigerian medical system is not as effective as, for those who travel out. I noticed if maybe they had checked me, if I was abroad or something and a thorough check was done on me, maybe in 2020 or 2021, they would have noticed something because I kept asking the doctor, the gynae, the question. When everything came out, I'm like, okay, can it just happen like this without a lump, without anything? They said, yes, it happens in rare cases, but this one is even kind of deadly because already it has grown inside and nobody notices about it before it's, just came out, boom, and it's something that looking like maybe it wants to kill. It actually came to kill. But God that I worship is a living God. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist and I'll continue to be a Seventh-day Adventist. In truth and in spirit, so help me God. And I would love to, advise my young friends out there, old friends, anyone out there listening to the program today. Number one thing, you need to trust God with your whole heart, with your whole might. Number two, I would say that it's important we believe that there is power in the natural things God has created. If it is scent leaf, if it is water leaf, You know, there is in these green leaves, there are power in them. God has created these things for our health. He said he has given us, you know, this the plants for our healing, and it is so. But it is left for you and I. I'm not saying you should just go and pick scent leaf, pick water leaf, eat at the quantity you want. No. Even when you are close to the doctor, Atolagba mentioned, she will tell you that when you want to juice any leaf to drink, you don't do more than 4. Like bitter leaf, you just pick 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves. You know, because she knows what the quantity, when you do in excess, what it will do to your body. So you don't have to do these things in excess. If you don't know how to do it, you ask questions. Don't just say, yes, my parents used to drink 1 cup of bitter leaf, so me, I'll drink extra. Things are not done that way, because when you take these things into your body, they can endanger your liver, your kidney, and all. So you really need to understand how to go about these things. And most importantly, water is also a good therapy. It's good for us to take water. And lest I forget, I was trekking a lot when I had this cancer journey. I was trekking a lot. I needed to, you know, not because I wanted to burn fat. There was no fat. When you eat vegetables in the morning, noon, and evening, there was literally no fat. I was really thin. But the cells, when they're inside the body and then you're walking, you're trekking back and forth, you know, the heat inside of you also helps in killing the cells. So when you starve them, they die, okay? So, but if you're comfortable in your zone, maybe your AC has, yes, the way I work, there's an AC there, another, but I don't sit in the air conditioner for too long. I sit a little while, I have to walk out, or when I close from work, I make sure that I trek home so that I will get, you know, the required air, fresh air that my body needs. And then I need to, apart from the trekking part, I needed to, you know, engage myself in exercise back and forth. When I wake up in the morning, even if it is 2 minutes, I try to stretch, I try to do things, you know. There were times I couldn't even lift my hand because I had a boil kind of, you know, when the cancer is spreading, it goes to your lymph, it comes to the neck, yes. I had those things, you know, trying to grow. But because God has helped, through the help of my mother and friend, Dr. Atolagbe, to, you know, rejuvenate my bloodstream and my blood system. So when these things were coming, and we also applied things like maybe activated charcoal, which is very good, these things disappeared. I traveled in August 2022 because where I work, Adventist World Radio, you need to, you know, I'm the Igbo producer, so I needed to go to the East, get sermons and other messages in our Adventist this thing for our listener. So when I traveled, I started eating something cooked, but even at that time, I was not eating salt, no oil. It's just the vegetables. So my mother will rally around to get, you know, fresh vegetables from her farm, her garden, without fertilizer. She prepares them for me with these locust beans. The Yorubas would say iru. So that was my kind of seasoning. So I use that, and then the soup will be nice. It's sweet in my mouth. I eat it. And if I need to eat swallow, my swallow when I started was like 2, maybe 3. That's the highest thing I'll take. But I would take the vegetable more than, even when I eat rice, maybe highest 3-5 spoons of, you know, the eating spoon, and then I'll just do fresh tomatoes, fresh onions, and then there's this angara. I don't know what is the botanical name, but the Igbos use it. Angara is the smaller part of garden egg leaf, not garden egg leaf. So I use angara and then, you know, just slice in it and eat. So that's how I was eating when I started eating cooked food. So when I returned from that journey, it was a 1-month exercise in the East. When I returned from that journey, I visited the hospital. You know, I mentioned I always go there for checkup. So I visited the hospital, and when I got there, they did their tests, they did everything. And the surgeon was just looking at me. When I came back with all the results, do this. He was looking at me like this. And I'm like, he said, first he was even surprised how the dirty looking, rotten breast, how everything just went back to normal. And then he sent me for those tests, and he was just looking at me like, you are free. That was his word. And, you know, from that hospital, that very day, I know I sang It was in the hot sun. People were looking at me, but you won't understand my story. I sang from the hospital and I was just dancing on the streets, singing back to my office. I was just so happy that I'm going to share this news, and I'm sharing it with everybody that, I was declared free from the cells, the cancer cells and all, and I give God Almighty the glory. So after that, I introduced salts, and that's Himalayan salt, very healthy. I introduced that Himalayan salt to my diet. I started taking some nuts, but anything I need to take, maybe if it's granules, needs to be boiled, not the fried or baked one. Even now, baked food, I don't really go close to those things now. So I still eat good vegetables and, practicing good oil, maybe coconut, soy oil, flaxseed oil, like that. And then I noticed that after September, I was totally well. Towards the tail end of September, I woke up and it was just like the devil was trying to remind me of what I've forgotten, because my left part, I started this story with sharing that in March, I felt that paralysis. So in September, ending of September, after I'm free and I'm happy, not living my life anyhow, I was still doing, my routines, but not like before. So I experienced that partial paralysis again in September 2020, after I was declared free. So I looked to myself and I said, oh, this is happening again. And it became so bad that at this point, it was, moving my mouth, like my mouth was already moving, twisting towards the left. Everything on me was just going towards this part. And I said to myself, God, Satan can never take your glory. You have started this, and it will not be like there is no power in the natural things. You have proved the devil that you are God, and you continue to be God in my life. So at that point, I know that day I came to work and one of my bosses saw me and saw the way I was. He said, okay, you have to go home. So I went back home, because I'm just that type of person that I don't like sitting just sitting lazy and acting, okay, I'm sick. No matter how it is, if I can push it, I push it. But when I know it is to the brim, when I can't push it, I won't. So I always say to them in the office, anytime I'm sick and I don't eat, no, something is wrong. Okay, so she said I should go home. So I got home and then I slept off, thinking maybe if I rest. But by the time I woke up, it wasn't a sweet journey. The movement and everything wasn't nice. So I just put a call immediately through my mother and friend, Dr. Atolagbe. I smile always because that's the way she smiles when she receives your call. So I put a call through her and I said, Mom, like I couldn't even talk so well, and I told her that this. And he said, when? I explained to her, she said, Omo yi, that's in Yoruba, this child. Toba wa legbe mi, if you were close to me, ma fi egba no any, la will you skin and flog you, So she was just saying, Rosemary, why would you do this? And you went home to sleep. That do I know the danger of, having a stroke or a paralysis when sleeping or something? That I should get up immediately. And if I have cayenne pepper at home, to God be the glory, I had cayenne pepper at that time. It's also a very good, medicine. So I should take cayenne pepper, just a little tip into my mouth. I should just put it there. And I know that the moment I dropped, like I was trying to explain, Emma, she said, go and do what I asked you to do now. So I picked it and put it in my mouth. There was that relief a little. She said, okay, boil water and, mix some of the cayenne pepper and drink, and, just be taking it like interval of just take it. You need to be well. I said, okay, Mom. So I did it that very day. I was taking it, and another time I had to mix it with molasses. I was taking it, and that was the healing God brought again. Yes, God brought that healing again. And then the paralysis, the mouth that was trying to twitch to one side. This is me talking right here, and this is still me, alive and healthy. So I've not experienced anything apart from that time. But I noticed, the honest truth is, within that time, there was this mental stress. When you're having stress, there was something that came up with a particular woman that assists me at home when it comes to washing and all. She disappointed. And this was me. I really didn't expect that from her, because she told me she was coming. She said she was there at a time when I called, like around 11. And just for her to call around 5 and tell me she couldn't make it. And I'm like, oh, so you lied to me all through the day. Like, I hate disappointment. Yes, one should always expect it. But I didn't expect that from her. Like, how on earth would you expect me to do this? So I got home, and after the day's work, I needed to dip my hands into the water, because I noticed that once my hand is in the water for a long period of time, and then I get cold into my body, once you have sickness like cancer, there's this damage on that part of your body. You feel anything you take in, you feel emptiness around that area. So when my hand goes into the water and it stays for too long, I noticed that, and I told my husband. He said, okay, no problem. He took over the washing thing before we got that lady. So that disappointment, and then some other news at work about how things, so many things didn't work out that week. She disappointed on Wednesday. I got a news, that work thing about, trying to, will I call it, increase my duty, something of that nature, on a Thursday. And all of that just distorted, like, it made me think. That's what I mean by the mental stress. So mentally, I was not just stable. I'm like, why are these people trying to stress me? So I believe that stress, because for a long time, I've not had anything to stress me so much. I take my things one day at a time. I do my work one day at a time. So because of that mental stress, it was so hard at that point that I just said to myself, I don't know what to do at that point. But that was part of the things that, aggravated that thing to come back, because I knew that, the anger thing wasn't nice at that point. But I give God the glory, because since then, nothing any human being born of a woman would do to me, on this earth, that would, make me go the way how angered I was at that very point in time. So since then, I've been living my life, making myself happy, and thanks to God Almighty for the amazing Bobo. Yes, so the amazing Bobo I'm married to, Lawrence Yomoyelano. He's such a wonderful person. I'm not saying it because I know someone will listen, but I'm saying it because he's a wonderful brother, a husband, and as he treats me like a sister, not just as a wife. He's such a wonderful person, because then it's something he's used to, already taking care of the girls. He assists in cooking, he assists in, everything he does in the house. Bathing, everything he does. So it wasn't something new for him because I was sick and then he needed to readjust. It was just a normal way of life, for him. And I would also advise our men out there, learn to assist your woman. She's your helpmate. Not only when she falls sick, because for my husband, it was a lifestyle and it just became so perfect. And to my adorable girls, yes, I know someday they will grow. Going to 6 and going to 3. One will be 6 in December, the other one 3 in January. I really want to thank them too for understanding. I know at some point my little girl will say, oh, mom is using her water bottle, because if I needed to do the hot massage on my breast at that time with the bottle, I will have to use their water bottle. It's a stainless bottle. So she'll say, mom is using my bottle. She wakes up in the morning. At her little age, I'll think she's sleeping, and then she tells me, or sometimes she'll tell my husband, I saw my mommy, she's using my bottle, on her breast. Her breast is paining her, Abby. Oh, okay. If she passes and then she hits me, she said, mommy, hope I didn't not hit that your breast that is paining you. They were so loving and so caring, because God has helped us to raise them in that nature. I really love you girls. I love you so much. Sweet Emmy, Olorun Fumi, Chioma Lawrence, I love you. And to my Eshine, that one, she's a beautiful, my husband gave birth to her, said, this is Pekin, this one is child. So to Ezine Abodude, I call you Morayo because you're my joy. Yes, you came and everything seemed like health was going bad, but you are still my joy. Morayo Ninue. And I'll continue to enjoy that joyful experience you have brought into the family. Ezine Abodude Morayo Lawrence. I love you, girls. Olumi, I love you. And to everyone, God loves us all. God is good, and He will continue to be good in our lives. Yes, I know I mentioned at a point, the very first, trust God, believe in the natural things God has given, but don't abuse it. Don't misuse it. I love you all, and I pray that God will give you peace. I pray that God will give you good health, and I pray that you will live long to take care of your children, and they'll be happy with you. Thank you.